Ever since my childhood, I've thought about what to spend my money on, but it was only quite recently that I realised the full potential of managing it both carefully and meaningfully. Now I have multiple 4- and 5-figure pots making me daily passive returns, and today I'm going to be sharing exactly how much I get from each of them. I'm actually making this video because it's videos like this that helped me to see the potential for my money and my future. And I'm hoping that this can maybe help others to understand the true potential for their own hard-earned income, just like I did. And with that being said, let's now get into the numbers. So my first couple of passive income methods are through Trading212. If you don't already know about them, Trading212 is a company that offers a bunch of different investment and savings accounts and are super well known and widely used. If you spend any amount of time researching personal finance, you'll have heard of ISAs, which are individual savings accounts that let each person in the UK put up to £20,000 a year into savings or investments tax-free. By using an ISA in this way, you don't have to worry about paying tax on any of the returns, so overall it makes for a really cost-effective way to start building wealth, as you get to keep all of what you make back. So I'm just going to start things off with how much I am making from my accounts on the Trading212 platform. Right now I have money split across 2 different ISA accounts, a stocks and shares ISA and also a cash ISA. I have £7,789 in my cash ISA and it's earning an interest rate of 4.35% AER. That works out at 91 pence a day or £27.56 a month. Whereas my stocks and shares ISA has £20,027 of cash in it, earning an interest rate of 4.6% AER, and that works out at about £2.47 a day or £75.20 a month. The best thing about these accounts is that they are really safe and so a great method for saving money. The cash ISA is actually 100% safe, whereas the cash held in the stocks and shares ISA does carry some slight risk. I am able to use these accounts to make passive returns on my short-term savings without having to worry about the value dropping, and they are also instantly accessible, making them a great candidate for emergency funds in general. The main caveat here is that it won't be making the greatest possible returns, such as higher risk options that I will talk about later in this video. But as you can see, the returns are still pretty good, especially for just keeping the money in a particular account and otherwise having to do nothing. The other thing to bear in mind is that the interest on these accounts are variable and therefore they will change from time to time. There is some upkeep required to ensure the rate you are on stays competitive, and also the interest rate is influenced by factors in the economy, meaning that some elements of it are out of your control. Recently, the Bank of England has been lowering the base interest rate, which has led to loads of providers following suit and lowering the interest rates that they will in turn pay to you. This will soon mean that I am making less money on the savings accounts mentioned in this video. Another option would have been for me to look into possible fixed interest rates, and there are some of these on the market that give you more certainty in your earnings over a fixed period of time. But for now, I quite like the flexibility and earnings from my chosen accounts. Now, with the approaches I have mentioned so far, you may eventually run into the trouble of having exhausted your personal ISA allowance. That happened to me for the first time this year because I had savings that I'd saved up over many years being paid out to me all at once. And so that leads me into my next savings account, which is my regular, and by that I mean non-ISA Chase savings account that I opened this month. I have never used Chase before, and so this is my first ever experience banking with them. And in order to get their boosted rates saver, I needed to make a current account. All in all, this took me about 30 minutes to do, and I even got this snazzy current account debit card in the post. Not that I intend on using it, but I will go through the motions to get me some additional passive returns. Now on the savings account itself, I transferred exactly £4,000 into it, and it's making me 4.5% AER at the moment, including a 1.75% boost due to me being a new customer. That equates to 48 pence a day or £14.70 a month. New customer bonuses are definitely worth looking out for as they can maximise your earnings. For example, the Chase savings account works out much better for me because I am able to get their boosted rate. Another popular cash ISA alternative to Trading 212 is the Moneybox Cash ISA, which at the time of recording this video pays 4.2% AER, plus a boosted 1.51% rate for new customers over the first 3 months, on balances over £500, but with that, you will forfeit some of the rate if you make withdrawals. However, if you're happy with those limitations, you'd be looking at 5.71% total interest, which is higher than what I am currently getting. InvestEngine offer an accessible and low-cost platform for investing in ETFs or exchange-traded funds that are basically investment bundles that have already been assembled for you. With these, you can invest in hundreds or even thousands of businesses rather than just one. And if you can imagine maybe purchasing an entire fruit basket rather than a single apple, that's kind of how it works. So this type of investment exposes you to businesses worldwide of all different shapes and sizes in a single package. This leads me to the final and potentially most lucrative way I make passive returns, and that is through the stock market and from various investment portfolios that I have built up, from both workplace pension contributions to putting away some of my income each and every month and choosing to invest it. I know this can feel overwhelming to begin with, and if I had tried to film this video 4 years ago, I wouldn't have even started investing because I was already spending all of my salary on some other things. But right now, across all of my ISA investments and pension pots, I have about £48,800 currently invested in the stock market. And by my own estimates, I predict that will make me an annual return of about 8% on average over the long run. And that is equivalent to £10.29 a day or £313.98 a month. Now, I'm definitely not an expert, I'm not a financial advisor, and I doubt I ever will be. I honestly think there's way too much regulation stopping normal people from empowering themselves to take action. And nothing in this video is financial advice. It's purely created for education and entertainment purposes, so you can make your own judgment. But as you will probably be curious around how I got to the 8% prediction, here is my thought process. As much as possible, I try to manage these accounts to ensure they are invested in globally diversified funds or ETFs so I can get exposure to all different types of companies and to follow the global economy rather than trying to pick out which areas are going to perform best. Historically, global ETFs and index funds such as the FTSE All World have made around 10% per year on average over the past 20 years. Despite knowing that past performances don't guarantee me future results, this leads me to thinking that 8% is actually quite achievable. I'm not saying my investment strategy is perfect or risk-free, and in fact, your money is always at risk when investing, which is why I also started with savings first. However, once me and my partner had our fully funded emergency funds and enough to cover short-term needs, then we both got into investing in a big way. I tried my hardest to add to my investment portfolio because of the possible passive returns. No one can predict the future, so each of us must choose for ourselves what is going to be the best use of our own hard-earned income. And I wholeheartedly believe in the power of investing. I looked into it and only about 16% of UK adults have a stocks and shares ISA. With that said, it's highly likely that more than 4 in 5 of us aren't investing spare money beyond maybe our workplace pension, which honestly does make me quite sad. But after doing some reflection, I can start to say that I honestly get this, because I don't have to tell you that the economy is quite bad at the moment. Brexit, followed by the housing crisis and the energy crisis and the cost of living crisis. We've been hit with one thing after another, and without any of it getting resolved along the way. So now it's normal people who are feeling the effects, because 2 or 3-fold, everything has gotten to the point where it is really difficult just to pay for a roof over your head, let alone save extra money. When I think about it deeply, I think of it as sort of a catch-22 situation, because I really do think that investing for the long term is a way for normal people to build up their wealth. But with that being said, it's really, really hard to get started on the journey. It honestly does take time to see the results. Before you start investing, you also need to come to terms with the risk involved, because it isn't realistic to expect a perfect or even close to consistent performance in the stock market. And for full disclosure, my personal investments of my disposable income that I started making back in December 2021 were down in value for the first 12 months. I did an update in December of 2024 where at the time I worked out I had made 15% per year on average by the 3-year mark. And as of today in May 2025, it's actually back down to somewhere around 7.5% per year on average. So hopefully that gives you a sense for the highs and lows of investing. This is where having a long-term view is essential, and what really keeps me motivated is knowing that I will let this money compound and grow over time. But getting back to an overview of the returns I am making at the moment, you can see that I am getting £3.86 a day from my savings, or £117.58 a month. When incorporating my estimation on returns from my investments, this actually increases to £14 a day or £432 a month from both my savings and my investments combined. When I first saw this, I was amazed because I hadn't realized just how much of an impact these pots were making on my life. Now, I have a confession that due to my personal situation, I stopped investing as much or consistently this year. And this is mostly due to the fact that I quit my job in December to focus on helping people save and get value from their own hard-earned money. And that meant giving up the comfortable amount I had been making, where I could invest quite a bit every single month. Despite all that, this video proves that the savings and investments I have are still actively working for me. And all that without much input from me. And seeing these numbers, it really does drive home just how life-changing these amounts can be when they all add up. I hear a lot of people say that by saving and investing, you're sacrificing your life. They say, and maybe you are thinking this too, I'd rather live in the moment and enjoy my life than hoard it. And there's nothing at all wrong with that point of view. I do think it's important to seize the moment because you only have one life. But I also think there's something to be said about the opposite perspective. I wouldn't recommend anybody sacrifice to the point where it makes them actually miserable about life. But actually, if I'm being honest, I feel a sense of achievement when I manage my money with care. And just as I do when I look at the amount I've been able to put by rather than immediately spend. Me and my boyfriend work hard to create a life that is fulfilling to us. And sometimes that does mean rejecting the norm. For example, we hardly ever have takeaways and we don't drink alcohol. We're also pretty hell-bent on getting mortgage-free as soon as possible. And while this doesn't work for everyone, often the best way is to take a little bit of an idea and then make it your own. So maybe just doing a little bit of this saving and investing might be your jam. For us, it has drastically changed our lives and also given me this little window of time to pursue my dream of helping people get the best value from their hard-earned income. Time will tell where we end up with this gamble, but for now I can tell you that I have absolutely no regrets whatsoever. And the savings and investments are always going to be there for us to fall back on in hard times. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Lately, I've been wanting to give back to my community, and I want to tell you that I've been planning to release a mini course that will take you step by step through what you need to do to start investing in probably less than an hour. So if you would like to get access to the guide when it's released, you can sign up for my newsletter where I'll be sharing that guide free of charge to the first 50 people who sign up. If you actually do this, I would love to hear about it in the comments. But otherwise, you can expect much more in the way of saving and investing content through this channel. And you can, of course, always subscribe if you want to be notified about my next video. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.